You know, you can't let your
How
shirt
long have you
have
had
bacon
it?
neck. Probably only a year. I feel like it's a well-made shirt though. How
There was
beautiful is that logo though?
there was one year in spring training where we got only plain black Under Armour shirts and shorts, no Orioles logo on them. So imagine
Yeah.
being a professional baseball player going out to spring training in your shirt and shorts, and you were just in like stock black. No bird, no O on it, nothing, no orange, nothing.
That's weird, especially for a big league organization. My
It's
first year,
quite interesting.
yeah, my rookie year in indie ball, we got just plain green shorts, and they wanted them back at the end of the season. I'm like, you want my $12 unbranded shorts to give to some other dude next year after I sweated them for 100 games? Like, you're serious right now? That was the management of that team. It was just
Where were you at?
Normal.
Corn
became
Belters folded.
my hometown. Yeah, well, that was part of the reason. When you nickel and dime everyone, it just like puts a bad taste. Yeah, puts a bad taste in their mouth. That gave me some feedback, by the way. Whatever you just did.
Periscope.
Hello, everyone. We are live. This is episode 3 of the Morning Brushback. I'm Dan Blewett. I'm here with Bobby Stevens. Bobby, what's up, man?
What's going on?
So I want to discuss this concept with you that I just heard, and I think it's kind of funny. Have you heard of the term airport rules?
Yeah. You asked. I have never heard. I've never heard that term.
I haven't either, but it makes sense. Apparently, there's no rules in the airport, which I definitely understand. But if you want to eat pizza at 9 a.m., you want to eat spaghetti at 4 in the morning, you want to have a drink at 10 o'clock in the morning or 5 at 10 o'clock in the morning. If you're in an airport, you can do it, I guess, huh? So
yeah, there is no clock in an airport.
No, there's not. So
you're on world time.
I feel like that's what we reverted to with coronavirus. And I think that's an apt. I think it's an apt analogy. Good job, Chelsea. But
these are I'm on virus rules right now. I don't know what. I have zero idea what day it is. The only reason I know what time
minor
it
league
is.
baseball rules. That's minor league baseball rules. You don't know what day it is.
Yeah, but you know a little bit. You know a little bit about what day it is in minor leagues because you know when you're traveling. We're not even leaving the house. I'm just here. I'm a prisoner at this point.
That's true. You do look like a prisoner.
It's a plain white background. The door's locked.
Yeah. Oh, I get to turn on my backlight. Speaking of which, I know the audience wants that sweet red glow. We're gonna go with red today. Look at that, people.
Your stuff is fancy. This is
a year. This is a year and a half in the making. All this YouTube, like if you look at the quality of my first YouTube videos, they're just trash. If you look at any creator on YouTube's first videos, they're trash. And they just ramp up over time. They get better and they get better. It gets easier and easier. But like I was trying to explain to my brother-in-law, because we did a family Zoom call the other day, just because, we can't be together. And he asked like about my webcam setup, like, because obviously I'm way sharper. Like I'm broadcasting from an actual Sony 4K camera right now, connected to a $250 mic and has all these cables, like it streams into my computer, like whatever. It's a big setup, which is because I already have that camera and I already have that mic, whatever. He was just asking about the setup, and it's like, there are so many tiers of how you could do things. So if you're out there and you're using Zoom today and you want to make your video quality better, like Bob, you just bought a better webcam, right?
I did. And it took me so many tries to find it. Everybody in the world has bought a webcam. Every Best Buy in Chicago, every Office Depot. There's not one webcam in Chicago. I got this one at a Guitar Center, which I didn't realize that they needed to sell webcams, but they do.
To survive.
Dude, the foot traffic running in and out of Guitar Center is insane.
Insane.
There was a line. There was a line. Swear to God, 10 in the morning.
People need backyard banjo players more than ever. People need that guy at the party who's just going to whip out his guitar and sing a song that no one wants to hear. They need him more than ever.
If there was ever a group of people that had coronavirus, they were congregating in the audio section at Guitar Center.
Yeah, surfer dude with some, Jack Johnson remixes. He is in demand. This is his time. This is his time now.
A couple guys that refuse to wash their hands.
Yeah. But I mean, there's just it's complicated to set all this stuff up. But I mean, to your point, the quality of my videos ramped up over time. The quality of my editing, like I edit all the time now, so I'm getting better at it. Those are just, I mean, like everything in life, it just takes time. You acquire skills, and it's a process. So
my first Zoom was last week, and I feel like it looks great.
Yeah, it's
fantastic looking.
I think we're getting there. Man. Well, and the other thing is like audio quality for podcasts. Like 2 years ago, doing my own podcast with Lucas Cook and myself and guests, just like the call-ins weren't as good. Like the quality from Zoom audio is very good, which is exciting to me because I hate when you have a podcast where someone's in the studio. It's like phenomenal sound, right? The host has beautiful audio, and then they call their guests and it sounds like they're shouting across a gymnasium into a speakerphone.
I'm always on speakerphone. Always.
Not the way to do it. Well, it's classic you. So we got more Tommy John news to talk about. Thor is going down.
I know, Tommy John watch.
What's going on, man?
This has become the Tommy John watch.
Yeah, Thor, well, it's probably going to end, but
does he have a history of being hot? DeGrom was the one I thought that had the history. Maybe I'm mixing those two up. I don't follow the Mets that much. Or was Syndergaard?
Does anyone follow the Mets? I don't know.
I got one friend that follows the Mets, and he's not happy about it.
I don't know. I think this is his first Tommy John, but I can't say. I should do more research.
No, I don't think he's had Tommy John. I didn't know. Was he hurt Was he hurt in the last couple of years, or was that DeGrom? One of them has been hurt. One of them has been hurt a few times. It might have been Syndergaard.
I think I'm just a bad MLB reporter at this moment. Let me pull up MLB trade rumors, which is my only source of contact with the baseball world.
Jeff Passan?
Well, he tweeted out
MLB guy?
He tweeted out the story. Yeah.
I'm gonna start breaking MLB news. That's totally false.
We'll just copy and paste someone else's breaking news and just rate on your own. It says breaking in all caps. Breaking news. And then just that's how you do it. They can't say it's not breaking.
It's immediately.
You can explain it away. So we have some guests lined up for the show, huh? We've gotten some friends reaching out to us.
We're about to be sponsored by Zoom after your little spiel there.
Well, I am welcome to help people. And well, long story short is I actually have a webcam right here. I'm going to mail it to my brother-in-law and up his game. Because I feel like everyone just, here's the thing I don't understand. Like we have iPhones that it's so technologically advanced, right? But the webcams that they build, even into $3,000 brand new laptops, are still 720 by 1280. They're still 720p. Why is the world's webcam supply coming from like 1984 Russia? I don't understand.
I don't know what.
Why don't we have a 4K?
Means.
There's 4K, 1080p. So 1080 was the HD standard for like the last 10 years. Now it's 4K. And then 720p was crappy HD back when I was like 15. So 720 is what your camera does. That's the highest resolution it'll do. 1280 pixels wide by 720 tall. Which is okay for like viewing on a mobile phone, but I just don't understand like when there's 4K cameras in your phone, why you can't put a 4K camera in a computer.
You're a webcam snob, you know that?
I am a webcam snob. But it's just ridiculous. Like people video call more today than ever. And when you buy a new computer, like this Lenovo laptop that I use is pretty new, got it in November. And for $2,000, you should be able to get just like the same webcam quality that's on your stupid smartphone. Like a smartphone costs $200 now. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand like why they make those decisions when Apple's like re-engineering laptops, all these companies or bring out the latest and the greatest. And they're like, what kind of webcam should we put in there? There's a board meeting to discuss the specs. What kind of webcam? Let's go with the same quality we've had since 1980. Yeah, that sounds good. You know what? Everyone agree? Yes, they drop the gavel and it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand.
I'll make a few calls. I'll let you
There's a global conspiracy is what I think honestly is happening.
We can transition into other conspiracies if this is where
so for those of you viewing, if you don't know, Bobby and I don't talk about a lot of things, notably Donald Trump, vaccines, You believe in the Easter Bunny probably too, right?
Coming up, we'll find out. I'll set my webcam up overnight.
Bobby refuses to believe anything. You just take this this infuriatingly agnostic point of view. You're like, Trump could be really selfish, or maybe he's not. He could be really. It's like there are like some things that are objectively maybe true, and
I'm gonna toe the line.
It's not towing the line when you never make a decision. It's towing the line.
Straddle the line.
You like don't have any information to make a decision.
I've got my Twitter up right now. My Twitter feed is full of virus information right now.
Virus information?
Everything. I could be the world's leading expert on coronavirus at this point.
Well, I do find it fascinating what Liberty University is doing. They're just like, oh no,
Lynchburg, Virginia.
Yeah, we don't want the kids to miss out on college, so just call them back. It's like, oh great, just throw the whole quarantine thing into disarray. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It makes sense through the lens that he just doesn't seem to care, or Jerry Falwell Jr., or subscribe to science. I mean, every person in the world is saying, that's a bad idea. And that's putting all their instructors at risk, especially, and their students too.
I can't imagine anybody is in a hurry to get back to Lynchburg, Virginia. No. Being someone who's frequented there and also lived there, it is awful. For any viewer, for anybody, if there's God help you if you are viewing this and live in Lynchburg, my apologies. The Kmart's nice and the Tractor Supply top notch, but that place is just brutal.
Well, ironically enough, it's called Liberty, but they have vastly reduced liberties if you're a Liberty student because it's such a religious school. I mean, do you know Sean Tuffle? Did you play with Sean?
I did.
One of my teammates, our mutual teammate then, Sean Tuffle, went to Liberty, and I probably gave him crap about going to Liberty every other week. But like, hey, Sean, when did you learn to dance? I know they don't allow dancing at Liberty. And he's like, Dan, we could dance at Liberty. I'm like, Sean, when did you first hear real music? Because I know they don't let you listen to music at Liberty. He's like, we could listen to music. He's like, I don't know why you have all these misconceptions about Liberty. But
it's terrible. The town is nice people, just nothing to do. I'm sure there's like a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, that's like a lot of colleges too.
No, this is extreme.
Well, you went to Northern Illinois. I mean,
what do you mean the Northern Illinois University? It's a Harvard of the Midwest.
Is it though?
Yeah, are you kidding? Phenomenal academic school.
I mean, I remember looking up. I think one of my summer teams had a game near DeKalb, Illinois, which is where Northern Illinois is. DeKalb. Sorry. And I got depressed just looking at the Google Maps. I was like, oh.
You got to branch out of your bubble. DeKalb is a destination spot in the northern part of Illinois.
Is it? They have like an old wooden like water park or something.
They've got a bridge,
and splinters, and
there's a bridge. Cornfest 2020. No way they cancel it. There's no way. All right, enough about my
fine. So
alma mater.
Okay, I went to UMBC, which is no livelier. It's everyone stays in and does computer science on Friday nights. So
it's serving you well now.
Ironically enough, I do a lot of stuff with the computers, even though I did nothing with computers and studied philosophy. So there you go. So Bobby, I want to talk today about the softball swing versus the baseball swing. What do you got?
Same swing. Next question.
Okay. Some people say, I mean, they're like, girls are a little weaker when they're younger. If they cut down their swing, if they kind of change things, they make more contact. How do you feel about that?
I would not teach a softball player to swing any differently. So one of the girls at the facility that I have up here in Chicago I refer any softball players to her just because she's a professional softball player. She's got the experience. She teaches slap hitting, which is a totally different, idea. You want to get a little bit of a running start, put the bat in the ball, and basically you're halfway down the line. By the time the ball reaches the fielder, you're safe all the time if you can execute that. But the swing itself, mechanically, the idea of how you get set up, into the back hip, everything I would teach a baseball player, I would teach a softball player. I'm seeing there's the same thing we talked about on Monday, that Jeff Fry kind of threw out that same thing, baseball versus softball. And he was kind of steering himself towards the point of the ball is different, which is obviously true. If I'm going to give a softball lesson, I'm going to use softballs, but the same way I would teach a baseball swing is exactly how I would teach a softball swing. Now the philosophy might be different, where put the ball in play is more emphasized in softball. Maybe I'm not, I don't coach softball. I do actually like watching softball. I don't know if you watch softball. I've gone to a few softball games. I've been to a professional softball game. Like the pace moves. I mean, it's the pace of play that you want baseball to have. The ball's in play, like everybody's flying around. The bases are obviously only like 65 feet, maybe. So I mean, the game is moving fast, but
only 65 feet, maybe.
I don't know. So whatever it is,
there's 60 feet forever.
60 feet. Okay, so exactly, it's like 3 steps. I mean, if that was baseball, if the speed of softball was baseball, you would have a lot more interest, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. I watched like 5 or 6 Division I softball games this spring before they got canceled. I didn't find it more exciting than baseball. There's definitely differences. Obviously, the infield is so small that putting the ball in play does matter, because just the reaction time is so short. They can punch a ball through the hole pretty easily. The thing I found interesting was watching slap hitters, which obviously doesn't exist in baseball. But you start thinking about slap hitting, and obviously that's a completely different swing that we're not talking about right now. But when you start talking about slap hitting, they don't have to hit the ball that hard to get through the infield. They just need to punch it, and that works, right? So
yeah, you need to put the bat on the ball.
Yeah, and I hadn't watched much slapping at all. So just seeing them in action was interesting, because 1, 2, maybe 3 hitters in the lineup are slappers. So whether they're spraying a line drive over the infield or just trying to punch it in there and run, and it's a lot easier for them to get it through the infield than I had thought it would be. So that was a revelation for me.
Yeah, being a lefty has its major advantages in softball.
Yeah, it definitely does. One of the games was walked off on a slapper, hit a line drive over the infield the opposite way, ball game. So, yeah. So, but I mean, one of the big hitters from one of the colleges, and I was impressed with her and her at bat. She was fighting off some pitches. She got an off-speed pitch eventually. I think she got a changeup, and you could see her sink down into her back knee, which is what good hitters clearly do. Like when they're fooled, they don't leak forward. Their back leg tends to just kind of sink straight down, and then they keep on the same body position. I'm not a hitting guy, but I'm watching her, and I see her, and I actually caught this double that she hit to the warning track on high speed video on 500 frames per second slow motion, and it was just really impressive to see her get fooled, make this adjustment with her lower half predominantly, keep her hands in a position where they could stay back. And then she still got to the ball and almost got the ball out. So I was pretty impressed with her. And if you look at that swing versus any high-level baseball player, like that's the same swing. Like she was a very accomplished, impressive hitter.
Yeah, I would definitely teach it the same. It's the same principles of, hitting is reactive. So you need to be in a good position to essentially get your swing off when you decide that it's time, when you recognize what the pitch is. The 2 main differences between pitching and hitting: one's proactive, one's reactive. Pitching kinetic chain is, it's going to be the same every time. Because you're in control of the baseball, whereas hitting, you're basically at the mercy of the baseball or the softball. So you need to be in a good spot to launch. And I would teach the same way, hitting, getting into the back hip with a baseball player as I would with a softball player. I know the pitches are different. I know the ball is different, distance, everything like that. But at the end of the day, the swing is the swing. And you're trying to accomplish the same thing. You're trying to get yourself in a good position to react to the pitch. And whether that ball is rising as a, softball rise ball, or your sinker, slider, everything else that a big league pitcher might throw, those mechanics to me are the same. I would not have a different trade-off unless you're teaching slap hitting or something, specific to softball.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the difference between men and women, and it's this is an interesting debate, obviously, because there's the feminist movement, and there's just like lots of. I saw it on, I think, Twitter the other day, and I was actually listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with Ben Shapiro on it, who I don't know anything about Ben Shapiro, but listening to his views, many of which I agree with. Yeah, he is. But talking about this idea that women can do anything the men can do, which is like isn't biologically true. There's no woman that can throw a baseball 92 miles per hour. It's never happened.
Not yet.
And it's not disparaging, just like differences in biology and testosterone and muscle mass, all that stuff essentially precludes some of these activities. But anyway, so my point is that there's some biological differences that should be accounted for, but at the same time, there's no real mechanical difference. Like you watch a girl who throws really well, throw a softball or throw a baseball, there's no mechanical difference. There's just a major strength difference between a boy her age or a man her age or the same size or whatever. And obviously there's a lot of women who can outrun a lot of men. But when you get to the very tip top, like the hardest throwing humans on the planet are all men. The fastest running humans on the planet are all men. That's not to say that women don't do it as technically sound, because they do, and they can swing the bat. And that's sort of my point, is that they can swing the bat the exact same as men. They can throw a ball the exact same as men mechanically, and tap into as much of their potential as they can. But it's an interesting thing when people either start to handicap and say, oh, the softball swing's different. They should swing like women should swing. Like there is no difference. They should swing the same as any human should swing. And the same thing with throwing. You don't really see a difference. The thing you see in softball throwing, like overhand throwing, is the teaching is so backwards, and there isn't like the good set of fundamentals that's taught from start to finish with young players, where when you go watch D1 softball games, more than half the players, from what I've seen recently, have major flaws in their throwing mechanics. And these are D1 players, which you don't see that in baseball. You don't see a shortstop pushing the ball across the diamond at a D1 program. Like he just couldn't make it at, doing that. But because the softball field is so much smaller, it allows you to get the same result with reduced velocities, because it's more reaction time. It's a short throw. You can throw the ball 40 feet with bad mechanics, and it'll still get there about the same speed as if you threw an absolute missile. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, we have
your arm doesn't get exposed as often. The long throw from short in baseball or from third is going to expose a bad arm. It's like, sorry, kid, you can't play at this level because runners are too fast.
Yeah, no doubt. It definitely, the size of the field is gonna make a huge difference. We've actually got I feel like everybody's got this story, but we've got a girl on one of the teams that I run, 12 years old, who, she throws bullets. This girl throws absolute bullets. And I can remember playing Little League like 7, 8, 9, and there was always a girl in the league that was pretty good. I still remember who it was, like when I was younger. She threw hard, and then obviously as you get older and boys start to hit puberty and for whatever, physical changes they start to make, they get stronger, their bodies develop differently. We've always, the boys are always throwing harder, but we've had girls in the program, at least for my program, where they've thrown hard. They've been just as athletic, if not more athletic than the boys. And, this absolutely. Is pre-puberty. So, girls seem to develop a little bit earlier. I don't know the biology of any of this stuff, but girls, from what she's just on par with all, a lot of the boys that are her age, and she throws harder and she hits the ball farther. And there's actually an all-girls baseball team in Chicago that started up. They're getting a lot of press.
That's good.
So she's going to play on that team as well. It's cool. They just did something on the news that I'm going to post a clip of on our website and stuff. It was cool. She'll probably be one of the top players on that team too. Yeah,
we had a softball girl in my academy. She was only 14, hit 70 miles per hour overhand, which if she was running a baseball, she could probably throw the ball 75, probably a little more.
75 is 14.
Really impressive for boy or girl. Yeah, absolutely. So there are some really good arms out there, and maybe they can, with obviously so much has changed in the strength training world in the last 5-10 years that maybe they can still keep inching up. And, women, they've already cracked the college baseball ranks in some spots, but, it'd be good to see a female player in, D1 baseball and hold her own as a pitcher or an infielder, outfielder, whatever. It just gets so much tougher, especially with wood bats. They're just like, there are lots of strength requirements as you continue to climb up that just make it tougher for smaller players in general. You don't see men in Division I baseball below 180 pounds. It's extremely rare.
You need to be strong,
really
no doubt.
Muscular. Yeah. There's just athletic qualifications, I know a guy who was in the special forces, and he was just talking about how they refused to lower the standards of entrance into the special forces for women. And now there are some women that can do those pull-ups and can do all those same physical metrics that men can, which is impressive. Because they said these are the standards to do the job, not just for a man, but for any human. Right. And so women have risen to meet that, which is great. But it's just incremental progress, I think, with everyone. But again, the point just doubles back. Like there's no when we talk about mechanics of swinging a bat, swinging a golf club, throwing a ball, kicking a ball, there's no difference. Man to woman. There just isn't. Are there biological differences in the output? Sure. But that doesn't matter. Mechanically, we shouldn't be handicapping softball players and holding them back. Like they swing like a human is really just what it is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Speaking of which, do you think college baseball is ever going to go to wood bats? I wish they would. I hate the pinging. I think the only good thing that's about the college baseball season being down is there's less pinging, that sound in the air. I don't like the ping. I like the wood. I like the crack of the bat. You think it'll ever happen?
I feel like it's getting closer, as much as nobody talks about it. What's the holdup, right? What's the reason? Is it cost? The cost of providing a wood bat or multiple
That's a
wood
good
bats?
Question.
What's the holdup? I think the quality of college baseball would significantly drop with wood bats. You just don't have guys on a lineup of 9 that can, at least right now, that can handle wood bat. A season of wood bat. It's just not the same. Now, it might go hand in hand with the minor leagues being, reduced by 40-something teams. If you can put college and make college all wood bat, you essentially create what basketball and football have, and you have your minor league system with college baseball. Right now, college baseball is nowhere near playing minor league baseball. It's just not. You're not seeing the same quality, and you're still probably not going to see the same quality of arms. But the biggest transition for any baseball player, college to professional level is the transition to wood bat consistently. Most guys can do it. Obviously, if you're getting drafted, you've got the talent to do it, or you wouldn't be there. But to somehow make college baseball the de facto minor leagues, where MLB could take advantage of the product instead of it just being a lower level of baseball or a next rung of baseball from high school before professionally. So at some point it's going to happen. Whether or not the bigger companies that make aluminum bats have a say in it, which money talks always.
Yeah, I think that's a big driving factor for sure. I also wonder, you have 30 guys, I don't know, say you buy 25 bats for your team, for a college team. That's just a number that's maybe realistic. I don't know.
For aluminum, yes.
For aluminum, yeah. What, $300 a pop on average, probably. So 75. How much money is that? $7,500 in bats?
Right. But they're getting a deal. They're getting those deals. Whereas if you're getting the stock you would have to have of wood bats, guys are going to break wood bats in batting practice. Unless they go to something like a bomb bat where they don't break, or a composite wood, where it's harder to break. But at that point, why are you benefiting anybody? To bomb bats are $200+, $250 maybe. So to use, I would much prefer to use a real wood to a bomb bat. Bomb bats just feel soft to me. But is it money a driving factor? Again, are these is Alabama baseball program, USC baseball program, are they paying for those bats? Or are they just getting those bats? Because if they're just getting them, there's no reason for them to switch and start paying for wood, because the wood bat market is stretched thin. I mean, Louisville's obviously a big provider, but the best guys in the game aren't really using Louisville woods as much as they used to. There's so many smaller companies, and these companies thrive on sales. They're not just giving bats away.
Companies thrive on sales. Sage
These
wisdom.
companies.
Sage wisdom. Sage wisdom. I've heard Apple also thrives on sales.
This is why you come here, for these nuggets.
Well, two thoughts with that. Number one, I mean, and the difference, like in my rookie season in lower leagues and pro ball, my teammates were breaking 20, 30 bats a year. It seemed like breaking bats a lot. And then you get to these higher level leagues where guys have like 4 bats the whole season, right? They're swinging like a good maple bat, but they're so much better than lower level players at actually hitting the ball on the barrel all the time. When they get fooled, they still foul it off on the barrel, whatever, but they just,
they're in the sweet spot. They're definitely professional hitters are in the sweet spot. College hitters are
not even just professional, but like good professional. I mean, there's a difference in how many bats you're spending in a year. I've thought that was really interesting, where you hear Joey Votto, he uses like the same bat the whole first half of the season. Yeah. Like that's crazy.
That doesn't
People
count.
don't understand how impressive that really is. That's incredibly impressive. Like it's not that hard to break a bat. And when you suck, like as a pitcher, like I got some at bats one of my seasons, when you suck as a pitcher, like you could break a bat just like fouling one off on like the second pitch. Like it's easy to break a bat when you suck.
You see guys break bats, multiple bats in one at bat.
Yeah.
Or you foul one off the end and it splinters a little bit, and then that's it. You toss that bat to the side, and that's there's no way. There's no way they could do it without it costing exponentially more.
Agreed.
But it makes sense. I mean, if you're MLB, it makes sense to get free minor league baseball, and college baseball would be that, for them. I don't know if they want that. I mean, I don't know. It's
probably not. I don't think college baseball has ever purported to be a feeder to minor league baseball, especially when you start looking at the attitudes of coaches, when we start talking about pitch calling. Like, they don't care if they're developing you. I mean, if they really cared about your development, if they really, really, really cared about your development, a lot of decisions would be made differently.
Yeah, but that's the same.
They would need to win games. Yeah.
If you're talking about, I mean, I watched college basketball a little bit, but, college basketball coaches are the same thing. Are they developing these kids? Or, I mean, the coach at Virginia preaches defense. I mean, they're playing games in the 40s for college basketball. So does it really matter? Like, for them, it doesn't matter. But at the same token, they've had a few first rounders come out of that program. Now, those guys, their games might not have suited the Virginia basketball, way of life, but they still went to professional basketball. So I think it's the same for football, basketball, and baseball. I mean, the coaches are going to try and win. Their jobs depend on winning. Some of these kids are going to develop better than others. Their talent's going to show through. I think it's just hard to look at talent in college baseball and project it, how it's going to look in not just professional baseball, but Major League Baseball, which is where you're trying to get to. Like NBA, there is the G League, but you get drafted in the first round, you're not going to the G League. Like, you're going to the NBA. You're going to get your shot against LeBron. Football wise, I mean, there's a practice squad, but there is no XFL minor leagues. Like, you get drafted first, second round NFL, like, you're expected to show up and be the dude at your position. Yeah. For baseball, you're the number 1 pick overall. You go to A-ball or, fingers crossed. You go to
obscurity.
Yeah, you go to double A ball, and you just got to prove yourself against guys that have been there 5-6 years, with just as much talent. They just don't have the signing bonus paycheck.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I mean, I think it's not wrong to say colleges, that's not their goal, to develop you into a minor leaguer. Obviously, it's good for them if guys go into minor league baseball, but one such decision is pitch calling. Like, especially if you're a really good school and you don't let your guys start to learn how to call pitches, like you're clearly not seeing into their future as a minor leaguer where they're going to call every pitch from day one. Yeah. Obviously, tons of development happens. That's just one small aspect. They're developing these players like they are, But when you start to talk about decisions like that, you know, if you know this guy's going on to this level, you should be preparing him to call his own pitches, but they're not. That's just like not a thing they do.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it too with like coaches who'll get pulled from NCAA basketball straight into head coach NBA. Same thing, you know, Nick Saban was pulled to be an NFL coach. College coaches get NFL all the time. Go to the NFL. Is the guy from Vanderbilt, Corbin, is he going to get a big league coaching job? I mean, there's just like the old guard in baseball still reigns supreme. Like you need to work, you know, take your lumps, work your way up. You know, I can't think of anybody that's gone from college baseball coaching straight to big league, at least big league head coach. I know that, you know, guys have been bench coaches or third base coaches or what have you.
Yeah, it's changing now more than ever. That's for sure. Because I know the Diamondbacks offered their big league pitching coach job to the Texas Christian pitching coach,
right?
Who is a big league, who is a big leaguer himself. Yeah, but you're not going to become a big league manager after being a college manager. No shot.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. Is like the most successful college baseball coach of this generation has been the guy at Vandy. You know, why isn't he getting looks to be the pick a team? You know, the Mets head coach or the White Sox head coach, whoever's looking for a head coach.
You need to stop saying head coach. You need to say manager.
Manager, whatever.
You're making me mad.
Skipper.
Well, and like for one example, Ed Blankmeyer from St. John's, like super well respected. 25 years at St. John's University. He's now the Mets field coordinator. So that's like a pretty big jump. Like he's high up in the hierarchy. I'm sure he's only in the Mets, and I'm not speaking with any. This is my speculation, but I'm sure he's in their system now as like a potential big league manager someday, right? Like that's his pedigree, and that's probably the first stepping stone job.
Yeah, but that's interesting though, because field coordinator is, at least when I was playing, it was the guy that ran spring training, the guy that stays at the spring training complex and handles all the rehab stuff. You know, he's going team to team. He's not necessarily managing a team, so he's almost like on a different branch of management.
Well, I think it's still
he's more of a front office. He's more of like a front office pathway. You know, he might be the assistant GM. You know, he might have a better chance of getting into the front office as opposed to getting on the field side in the big leagues, like the manager versus the GM. I feel like he's on more of a manager.
Well, that's changing more than ever.
Path. It's all fluid now, and the GMs, like even in Chicago, that's like the big thing is they hired David Ross, but is Theo Epstein the one? You know, the puppet master basically sending down to David Ross, you know, this is what we're doing today. This is the lineup. You know, I give you, you're basically you're the mouthpiece for me.
Well, I don't think it's quite like that. I think there's definitely more collaboration, but I don't think Theo Epstein.
Well, that's the rumor is like, that's the, not, you know, that's the thought process is that Joe Madden and Theo couldn't coexist because Joe Madden's got his style. And he's the manager, like he's the baseball guy, and Theo, the front office, wanted more say after, you know, some disagreements with Joe. And, you know, there's not many Joe Maddens left. How many guys can walk in the room and demand something as a manager in baseball? You know, there's a handful of those guys. The rest of them are basically beholden to whatever the front office wants.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some validity to that. I think there's also that there's just so much out there information that everyone's got to make decisions as a team, and that includes the manager. Whereas back in the day, there was the front office and the managers on the field, and it's like, don't come on my field. But now there's no seam between all of this, and rightly so. Like you have all these analysts in the front office that have a lot of good data to share, of like, hey, we should consider making a decision based on some of this data that we've collected, like some of the stuff we're talking about with the starting rotation, whatever it is, or looking at this, getting this guy in a trade, or maybe if we ordered, this hitter who's got a really high walk rate or a really high contact rate or whatever, maybe if we put him behind this other guy in the lineup, maybe they'll pair well because of some of the analysis we've done. There's a lot of interesting stuff that exists like that. And that stuff needs to be brought to a manager's attention. And then if you're saying, hey, manager, we've got a lot of good information to share with you that we think can help the team win. That's maybe lineup decisions, relief, bullpen decisions, starting. and then the manager's like, nah, I don't like any of that. That's not a good position to be in either. It needs to be like this round table now, because everyone's got something to bring to that table. And so it just can't be the way it used to be. And I'm not saying you're saying that it was, but I think there's just going to,
it's tough. What do you do?
The manager is just going to have his slice of the pie of the decisions he can make and like running that team. Like, I mean, why would you have a huge analytics department than to just let your manager go rogue and make whatever decision he wants, which seemed to be happening. And that was part of the complaints with Mickey Callaway and the Mets, last year. People were complaining that it's like, what decision and like why did you make that decision?
Well, that's like a feel thing. That's a guy who's been around the team, around these guys 12 hours a day, whereas, this guy on a righty matchup, is the go-to guy according to analysis. But, Dan Blewett's been lights out for us the last 2 weeks. Like, I'm going to go with the hot hand, or, this guy's really good righty lefty matchup, but, we've got a guy here, I've got a guy on the bench here that I trust to give me a good at bat. Like, we need a situational at bat. Where's the crossover? Is there crossover? The manager's always going to take the fall for not following what the analytics say. But if he, guesses correctly, or not guesses, but if he makes a decision and it works in his favor, is he going to get the credit for the feeling, the gut that he had, or the baseball? That's where like the baseball knowledge is. Guy's salty. This guy knows what he's talking about. Like, I'm going to listen to what Joe Madden thinks. This is why we're going to use the bullpen this way. And I think Joe Madden's a really good example of a guy that crosses over. He understands what analytics are, but at the same time, it's like, keep it simple. I'm going to ride, Bryant's my best hitter right now. He's getting on base a ton. I'm going to bat him lead off, and we're going to see what happens, as opposed to, well, the analytics say that he's better in the 2-hole. Well, he is, but we need him at the 1. We need him leading off, or whatever, however he uses the bullpen. I mean, what's the crossover? What do you do if you're the manager and, your boss is telling you to do something one way, but your gut's telling you to do it this way?
Well, yeah, and I can appreciate that point of view. We need to like sort of quantify what gut means. Like, is it just a guess? Like, is it based on something like, so for example, you're talking about 1 versus 2-hole hitter. So say like, data says, whatever data, could just be looking down the stat sheet. Like, say you're a youth coach and you're looking down the stat sheet and says, yeah, it looks like I should probably hit this guy 2-hole. He's got a little more pop. He's not really like the traditional 1-hole hitter. But say he really likes leading off and he really sees a lot of pitches and he's really good and he likes starting the game off for the team. Like, he's he can start the team off really well. He's like that firecracker. Maybe that's a good argument to put him in the 1-hole versus the 2-hole, or vice versa. You might have someone who's like prototypical leadoff hitter, softball or baseball, like spark plug, sees a lot of pitches, gets on base, steals a base, but they're just scared about being a 1-hole hitter. Like, everyone's looking at you. You're starting the game off, and that first about of the game for them just sucks, because mentally, which baseball and softball are very mental sports, that's a thing that's not going to show up on stat sheets, right? So as a coach, that's not, I guess you could qualify that as a gut decision. That's not really a gut decision. Gut decision is like, let's bring Randy in here. I really think he's going to have it tonight. Like, that's BS.
Well, but what's your issue with this Randy?
Listen, Randy doesn't know what he's doing. He just can't come through under pressure. But if we're talking about, like, Dan's had 4 out of 6 pretty good outings recently. I know his ERA is still higher. I know he's not quite as good against righties as Bobby is. But he's had a string of really good outings. I'm going to bring in Dan.
I was good against righties.
You could call that call that gut, but that's still based on something. Like, I've had 4 out of 6 good outings recently.
Right.
And you could see me throwing the ball well. Whereas if it's just like, I've got a 5 ERA and I pitched okay, and you've got a 3 ERA and you pitched okay, you're like, but you know what? I just really believe in Dan tonight. That's a stupid decision. That's a stupid gut decision. Like, you can't just go with gut if you don't have a really good something showing you them trending in the right direction and some kind of information. Even then, it all sort of stems back to, like, even the notion about the 1-hole hitter and being afraid, that's still backed by some sort of data. Like, you've observed that, right? Like, you've been around that player. Those just aren't going to show up on stat sheets, right?
So the baseball guy. I want the baseball guy coaching the team. I don't want the button up. I don't want the front office guy. Stay out of my locker room.
Stay out of Bobby's locker room, guy.
Or the bedroom I'm doing this podcast from.
Yeah. Closing thought, because we're running long here today. So one of my thoughts at the ABCA convention this year, as I walked around, I was like, man, there are a lot of bat companies, because we were just talking about bats. And I'm like, and I wanted to ask some of these guys, I didn't want to be a jerk, but I just honestly wanted to ask because I think it's valuable as a business owner sometimes to get critical feedback. For someone to just be like, look, why are you doing this? But I wanted to ask some of these companies, I'm like, why should I buy a bat from you? Like, your bat's $110. So is that dude's. So is that dude's. So is that dude's. So is that dude's. And there's 11 other bat companies. They're all $110. They all have nice finishes. They're all made of maple. And I personally, like, there's only like a couple mills in the world, most of them are like Canada, where
there's only three.
You're getting your billets of wood from the same places. Like, you can say it's better, but it's mostly coming from the same places, right? That's like a fact.
Well, all right. So I'll give you the bat breakdown real quick. Is from what I understand, there's only three mills you get the billet. Like you said, they get the billets from. It's the finish of the bat. So anybody can make a bat. I can make a bat right now. I go in the garage, whittle a bat. The same. It's gonna feel like
you couldn't. No, don't say
easy.
That.
Are you
no, you
me?
couldn't. Your bat would be this lopsided.
I got nothing but time.
It would look like a plantain. It would be a piece of trash.
Big barrel.
So
big barrel. Small handle.
People with skills, carpentry skills, could maybe make a bat right now, but not Bobby Stevens. All right, go ahead.
All right. So when I'm making my bats in the garage, it's all about the finish. So.
But it's not. I mean,
it is about the finish.
That
so the
layer of
reason
lacquer is not changing the performance.
It's not lacquer
significantly.
It's not lacquer. It's the rosin they use. So Chandler Bats. Quick story: the Chandler Bat guy, which is Chandler's arguably the best bat, the hardest finish. So that guy used to be a furniture maker. So the finish he's putting on the bats, he would put on furniture to harden up the wood to make it nicer furniture. So when you use a Chandler bat, I mean, you mishit one with a Chandler, it's not breaking the first time. Like, those are good finishes. So the bats I really like, Dovetail Bat is a good bat company, hard finish. The finish definitely matters. If you get if you get a Chandler bat, or if you go to the store, I don't think Chandler bat.
See, for someone who believes in so many conspiracy theories and who doesn't believe in vaccines, the fact that you believe that this 1 millimeter finish actually makes a performance difference in a wood bat is kind of baffling to me.
I'm gonna get the Dovetail guy on. I'm gonna get the Dovetail guy.
I guarantee though that these companies don't have any data that backs up the fact that, like, say they had some studies done where I hit, you had a pitching machine throwing 75-mile-per-hour balls, and your bat swung by a mechanical arm, and you're taking bat A with no finish, bat B with your proprietary finish. I would almost guarantee there's no statistically significant difference between the two bats. There's just no way, because the ball is deforming, then the ball reforms. That's a large part of the bat ball collision. The wood itself is what's absorbing most of it. The bat is flexing. That's producing a lot of the energy. That millimeter of finish isn't significantly hardening the wood because it's not soaking into the wood. It's on top of the wood.
That's not soaking into necessarily true though.
If it's an oil, it'll sink in.
I
would love to settle this debate, but I want data. I don't want to hear people's anecdotes.
All right, well,
it feels better. I'm going to give you data. I think that's BS.
I'm going to give you data. So
I'm going to tweet it. I'm going to tweet at Alan Nathan after this. I'm going to ask him if that could possibly have any effect on the bat ball collision.
I have guys.
If it was thick enough, it surely could.
When we get off of here, I'm calling my Dovetail guy.
If they don't have data, I don't want to talk to him.
All right. Well, all right.
Because I'm not going to argue.
I'm a field guy. I'm
not going to argue anecdote. Yeah. I'm not going to argue the anecdote.
So
there's no shot.
So there's a difference though. All right. Let me get back to real quick.
Go back.
There's obviously ash, maple, and I used, birch. I used birch when I played. I just liked the way it felt. I liked the way it came off the bat. I used B45 bats. So birch bats, birch is porous as a wood. Not huge holes in it, obviously, but like microscopic holes. So when you hit with birch, the bat is essentially getting harder and harder the more you use it. So there's a difference between birch. Maple is a harder wood. Ash bats have more grains to splinter. So there's differences in the wood, but the finish, from what I understand, at least from what I've talking to some of these guys is the finish is harder and it feels hard. I mean, definitely you use a Chandler bat or you use a dovetail bat, it feels significantly better off the bat than like the guy down the street that made his homemade bat and just lacquered or painted the barrel. Like it definitely feels different. I don't know if there's data behind it. I assume if they're going to claim something like that maybe some of these companies have data. But there are definitely popular bats. I mean, that's what made Marucci.
Oh, for sure. Of course, there's popular.
That's what made Marucci as popular as it was the finish. Felt like the bat was harder.
Which I appreciate the craftsmanship. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on wood bat companies.
You hate carpenters. You just hate.
My grandfather was a carpenter. He was a great man.
These guys. I'm a carpenter. I'm whittling.
I appreciate
bats in
the
my garage.
finish. I like Marucci. I think they're a great company personally. Love Marucci. They're excellent customer service. I think their craftsmanship is what started their company. And a lot of our teammates, when you and I played together, swung Chandler bats, and I definitely respected the craftsmanship in a Chandler bat. My only real position here is that I don't think there's any statistically significant difference in ball flight off of any bat when the finish is that small. I mean, the difference between it could surely be a harder finish. It could surely be maybe a mil thicker. But it can't be significantly thicker because the bat's going to get heavy from it. You're going to have to start making the bat lighter in wood to account for a heavier finish. I mean, when you paint an airplane, it adds like 1,500 pounds of weight to an airplane. You don't think about that tiny little bit of thickness. I mean, that's going to add an ounce to
1,500 pounds? Do I need to research this too?
Yeah, that's a fact. It's like between like 12 and 1,500 pounds. It's crazy. 3 coats of paint on a massive, the surface area of a 757, it's huge. It's a really interesting fact.
No wonder you can only bring on one carry-on.
All right, on that note, catch us on Friday, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. Central Time here on Twitter, here on YouTube Live, and then check out the Morning Brushback podcast in podcast land. It is in the process of being up there. It should be up there soon if you search and want to listen to it on your commute or on audio, or don't grace us with your presence on video. Bobby, thanks for good. That was good conversation today.
I'm gonna come back with data.
Bring your data. See you next time.
See ya.